Hello and welcome to the 17th episode of the Bookbreakrs podcast. With me, as ever, are the two lads, the Fountains of Reason, Paul and Enda. How are you, lads?
Very good.
Hey.
Very good.
So this week we're going to do an early season review of the Premier League. So we've had 6 rounds. At the start of the season, we all put forward who we thought would win the league, who would get relegated. So we're just going to look back and see how that's shaping up. So without further ado, Paul, do you want to give us your thoughts on the season so far?
Yeah, it's been a tight start to the season. I think it's only a point between the top 6. It's amazing how quickly the table starts to take shape even after 6 games. You know, you got Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United, top 4, Norwich, Burnley, Leeds, Newcastle, Southampton. You know, the usual suspects kind of get into position very quickly.
What's that they say? You can't win the league at the start of the season, but you can certainly lose it.
Yeah, well, that is true, and I mean, you know, if you look at the bottom 6, they're teams you'd expect to be there at the end of the season, but equally, you look at that top 4, you'd imagine that'd be the top 4 at the end. Yeah, I thought Chelsea would win it. I still think they'll go very close. Been a bit surprised really by Liverpool's start. I may have slightly underestimated how well they do this season. I know it's early days, but I think again the key thing for them is keeping their first 11 fit, because I don't think they have huge numbers of backup for any of their top players.
And I think we've been reminded about the Klopp factor and the value of a good manager as well. Like, he really is getting the most out of those lads, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. It's whether or not. Well, yeah, there's no doubt about it that Klopp is a great manager, but I think you'd probably agree, and that they've got a fairly light squad, and you know, a couple of key injuries could see them, like, maybe not out of the race, but it could certainly make it a more difficult process for
at the back and in midfield to get away with it. But the key injuries, any of the front 3, you're dipping way down in quality by therefore. But I have to say, when he's brought in the squad players, they've performed as well. So he seems to be knocking a tune out of the squad as such, and we've touched on how the squad is quite poor, to be perfectly honest. The squad itself, for outside the first 11, 12, maybe 13.
Yeah, and midfield was where you were struggling. You've already had a big injury there with Harvey Elliott. But I definitely agree.
Well, he was more a front 3 player. I think he was where his injury will hurt us is in November, when the boys go to the African Cup of Nations, because I'd say he was penciled in there for Salah's spot, and he ain't there now anyway.
Well, with the injuries you've had, he's started a few games on the right of mid, that 3, and Curtis Jones has kind of come in now. He's probably less creative than him, but I definitely agree with your point around squad rotation. Like, we see Solskjaer trying to do it, and you know, probably failing, but when Klopp shuffles the deck, he still gets the results.
Still gets the tune out of them, doesn't he?
Yeah. So Paul, you're still
I think
for Chelsea.
It's like, I mean, it is going to be. I think it's going to be a very close thing this season. I mean, I still, as long as Solskjaer is in charge of United, I don't see United being in the mix at the end. I think they'll certainly get top 4, but on the evidence of what I've seen so far, it's just the same old story with him. You know, he's tactically inept. He has a squad there that I believe is capable of challenging for the league. I don't believe they will challenge for the league unless they get rid of him very soon and bring in a Conte, or I don't know. The big talk in Manchester seems to be about Zidane at the moment, but I don't know. I mean, I just don't see them sacking him. I really don't. So I think you can rule United out of the race. I think City looked pretty decent up until I watched them last night, and I thought that's really where they're going to come unstuck, is against the big teams. You know, I think it'd be interesting how to get on against Liverpool at the weekend, but it is this weekend, isn't it? They're playing Liverpool. But I just still think they need a striker. They need a focal point for the attack, like all the other teams have. Liverpool don't necessarily play with that sort of single target man, but Mo Salah is their danger man, and he consistently scores 20, 25, 30 goals a season. If City don't have that at some stage, that will be their undoing, like I believe it was in the Champions League final last season, like it was last night against Paris Saint-Germain. I think United have
why do you
more
think
or
why do you think
less
Pep's persistent with that, Paul? Like, would say,
well, I don't know if he is persistent with it. I think they did want Harry Kane. Maybe they wanted Ronaldo as
but
well.
he has Jesus, right? Like, who's better than Messi? Only Jesus.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, listen, as a footballer, I think Jesus is pretty good as an out and out number 9. He'll never be a number 9 as long as he's. I won't finish that. Yeah. He's not anywhere near the Harry Kane level. But mind you, in saying that, Harry Kane has had a really bad start to the season, and
so are you
falling over
saying
himself the last day?
Yeah, it was comical.
So,
that actually.
On the Jesus front, then, do you think, or Jesus, are you saying that the reason he went without a striker, a main striker last night, was because he thinks Jesus isn't up to it at that level, rather than it being a tactic he wants to pursue?
Well, I don't know. I think it was more evidence of him tinkering, really, doing a Pep.
Tinkering, or as Enda would say,
He went full Pep.
tinkering.
Oh, he could have been over tinkering.
Enda never said that. Enda said he went full Pep.
Yeah. Well, he did. I mean, he went half
thinking
Pep
too much,
last
isn't it?
night, I think.
Yeah.
He went half Pep last night, and it didn't work for him.
I think their goalie is quite poor. He gets an armchair ride. He gets an armchair ride with the defense in front of him. But anytime it's put up to him, he looks cumbersome, awkward inside the goals, and he's always prone to coming out and taking lads out of it. Like,
Alisson is the Brazil number 1, isn't he? I don't think Ederson. I don't think Ederson is their number 1. So I mean, Alisson. Alisson's is a steady keeper. To be fair to him, like he's fairly reliable. I have seen Ederson do a couple of bizarre things. He got away with one. I think was it against Dortmund in the quarter final last season. I think Jude Bellingham had a goal disallowed, which could have changed the game. And it was down to an Ederson mistake, if I remember. So I have seen him do a few. He's a good goalkeeper. There's no question about that. But
he's massive. I think he's cumbersome. To be honest, he was very well shown up now as for the 2 goals last night.
But I think you're right about, like, if you've got that sort of solid defense in front of you, you're not going to be very busy. They have only conceded 1 goal in the league this season as well.
Yeah.
So I mean I think this, like, the top 4 as it is will be that top 4 in some order. Arsenal aren't going to break into it.
Yeah.
Your Everton's, West Ham, Spurs, they're not going to break into it. That is the top 4. In whatever order.
Leicester will struggle to get top 6 now at this stage.
They've had a real iffy start to the season, haven't they? Yeah, it's been strange. But I mean, down the other end, I tell you, I'm absolutely 100% confident that my forfeit regarding Norwich. 100%, lads. They've now lost, I believe, 17 Premier League games in a row. Wow. 17 Premier League games in a row. How, in the name of God, did you ever think that they were going to survive in that league?
Yeah, well, I think defensively they're just all over the place, and they're missing.
Yeah, I mean, he's learned nothing.
Yeah.
He's doing exactly what he did the last time. But I've been reading a bit about Norwich recently, and they seem to have like a good business model. It's just not a good football model. I mean, they don't spend a lot of money when they go up. Talk about net spends. They don't spend a lot of money when they go up, in the knowledge that they'll go down and they'll get their parachute payments, and they won't have signed a player for 50 million on 150 grand a week or anything like that. So
they've spent a good bit now this time.
Yeah, they have, but this is a.
I suppose it's relative. They haven't.
Fan, yeah.
they haven't really bought anyone over 10 or 12 million. So
no, exactly, and that was the point I was going to make. Yeah, like Fulham did that a few seasons ago, but my brother's a Villa fan, and when they came up a couple of years ago, I mean, they lost they had a lot of loan players and players who were out of contract, so they basically had to spend a fortune on numbers as opposed to quality. And I mean, I can't even remember the names of half of them. The Marvelous and the Cambas of the world, who actually still gets a game for them, believe it or not. But
VAR, lack of VAR kept them in the Premier League, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the goal,
on the last day,
was it Fulham or someone scored a goal and it was 2 foot over the line, and it ended up keeping Villa up anyway.
Yeah, but like you're 6 games in now, Paul. They've no point. Like
there is no point. There's no point in Norwich being in the Premier League.
Yeah, they're up against.
But they're playing rubbish as well.
Yeah.
Defensively, you're right. Defensively, they're all over the shop.
Defensively, you buy these substandard European, players from European teams, players that nobody's heard of. Like you come in, their stall was set out from day one. You win promotion. They won the championship. You sell your best player to another Premier League team. It's not like Real Madrid signed them, right? You just got into the Premier League and you've sold your best player to another Premier League team, and not one of the, it wasn't one of the big 4 or 6 or anything. It was Aston Villa. Villa are a good side. They're a big club, but Norwich should have been aiming to keep their best player into the team. What more did you want? He's got Premier League football. If Villa weren't offering him European football, so I don't know. It says it all about them, really. They're absolutely definitely gone.
I'm gonna give them a little bit of support. I'm not going to write them off fully yet. So I think defensively they have had problems. The teams have been walking through them. They've started Gilmore centre midfield, so they have a new midfield kind of pairing in front of that defence. Cantwell's been missing. Pookie hasn't been firing. There's there's just problems everywhere. But I think if he can get a win on the board, that they still have kind of the raw materials there if they can gel it all together to do something. But
they have yet to play all the relegation 6-pointers.
Yeah.
So they've been losing to City.
They've got Burnley on Saturday, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. They and Burnley are putrid. They have had City, they've had Liverpool. So for that reason, you cut them a bit of slack. But like you said, Paul, their defense is what's killing them.
Yeah, they've only scored 2 goals like in 6 games. No. That's not good, really, is it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, and you had Southampton as well, Paul. Southampton, Norwich, and who was your third one?
Southampton, Norwich, and Crystal Palace. I mean, of the 3 that I've picked, the one I'm a little bit probably maybe I've actually watched Palace play a couple of times. I'm somewhat skeptical now as to whether they will go down, because I think Vieira looks to have got them pretty organised pretty quickly, which I really didn't think he would. And I thought they were desperately unlucky against Brighton the other night. I mean, I was desperately lucky because I can, in the old Bookbreakrs app, in our little private league, I had a draw on that one, and I was going way down.
I had the draw as well.
Yeah.
But he's got them pretty organised.
He seems to have gotten buy-in, like he's come in and it seems like because they sold a lot of players, they could very easily just wave the white flag and be whatever, but seems like they've said, right, let's buy in here, let's do what he's telling us, and they all seem to be doing their jobs,
They do have a lack of quality. I mean, Jordan Ayew, I think, I'm sure they said something like 1 goal in his last 47 Premier League games. I mean, and he plays, he's a first team player.
He plays every week.
Yeah. But what they have what people who avoid relegation need, and that is people who can score goals. So that they bought Edouard off Celtic, he'll score goals. They have Zaha, they've Benteke, they've Ayew, and they've Eze, the guy who got injured, he's
a really good player, actually. Yeah.
So they'll score goals, and I think they're organised enough probably to do enough,
Yeah, I think I'm skeptical now as to whether they'll be one of them, but I'm
Do you want to do a forfeit on it?
I don't know, because I had another forfeit on Ronaldo scoring 20 goals. Again, I'm confident in that one as well.
Yeah, Fernandes is going to have to give him the penalties now.
Well, he will be. I'm sure he will be after that one. But Leeds,
I think that
Leeds were my
football just landed here in Gart in front of me here.
Leeds were my outside bet for relegation, and they've.
I'm telling you, that was a good call.
Shocking start.
That was a good call, and it doesn't look like they're getting any better. And
no,
like everything you said there about Norwich is exactly true about Leeds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except Norwich don't try to play like they're fucking Cruyff's fucking Ajax or Cruyff's Barcelona. So I don't know.
But this is the thing. I mean, they all these top managers seem to, heap praise on Bielsa. I think Guardiola is, kind of is well, yeah. I think he's like a student of the Bielsa school of coaching.
He follows Deitch on Twitter as well. So I think Pep, he's definitely.
Or Alan, will you just stop? Just stop.
I'll tell you, I think he's another what's that clown at Norwich? Daniel Farke, is it? He's another one of them. He's not learning. You're not if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're a fool. And this absolute gung ho style of football that he has, you score 3, we'll try and score 4, but it's not working for them because they're not outscoring teams at the moment.
They don't have the players to play that way.
Yeah. They don't. No, absolutely not. Rafinha is a very good player.
Yeah, everyone's got their measure now, so I don't know.
Yeah,
and they don't really have a squad. I mean, Bielsa is like the anti Mourinho. Now that's a good thing insofar as he tries to play football, but in every other aspect, 2 to 3 years is his max because he burns out where he goes.
Yeah. But I think he burns the players out, and I think that was one of the things I suggested might happen.
Yeah, but in order to be the anti Mourinho, you need quality because
I don't think he has it.
It's harder to score goals than it is to put 10 behind the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and just finally, Paul, your hero Sean Dyche at Burnley, is this the season he's going down?
I mean, I don't look. You say this every season, though. That Burnley squad is tripe. It's absolute tripe. They've no players in that squad that
their
really
football is tripe. Their manager is tripe.
But I wouldn't rule it out because I think Dyche will probably get them out of it because there's worse managers and is there worse squads? I don't know if there's a worse squad or not. I mean, they've spent hardly any money. They hardly ever spend money, and I think that is like a testament to how good a manager Dyche actually is.
Yeah. They spent money on a centre half, thinking Tarkowski, someone's going to come in with money for Tarkowski, and they never did. So Tarkowski is now doing out the last year of his contract.
Yeah,
he'll get a sign-on fee off of Watford now or someone next year. And that'll be him. He'll have one last big payday in his career. And Nathan Collins will be playing the championship next year. The Irish fella.
I mean, it's a good point around the contract, because in order for someone to sign him, he needs to be fit. So if you're injured, you're in big trouble. Okay, let's quickly jump into the app. So this is the Bookbreakrs podcast, and this is the app that's behind all that. So Bookbreakrs is a football predictions app. We run free-to-play football prediction competitions. The NAP competition runs weekly, monthly, and there's a season-long competition as well. So every week, Tuesday to Monday, there's a £50 prize pot. It's just 6 picks, 5 naps, and 1 banker. And then that rolls to the monthly competition and then the season-long competition. So I think it's 2 days left in the September NAP competition. It's pretty tight at the top. We've got Daniel and Ben fighting it out. Ben had a big winner in the Champions League this week. So he was on Club Bruges to beat Leipzig. So he's really stormed the table there. That's a big one. But, we've got Champions League tonight, some Championship, and Europa League. Anything can happen in the Europa League. So if you're playing you've still got a chance to make your mark.
He's had a nice little profit for the week, 174.75.
Yeah.
I think that is the exact amount that you are down this week, Alan, if I'm not mistaken.
And you're not too far behind him.
No, that is for sure.
I'm having
for sure
an absolute
glass houses, lads.
But we know from last season how quickly it all turns.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
So there's a long way to go. Right, Enda, we'll jump across to you. So if you want to run through your Premier League predictions and relegation predictions and just see how you're doing against those.
Oh, I can speak now, is it? All right. Like Paul, we weren't too far off it either. Like, Liverpool on top again. I said they'd be outright second, definitely by a long margin. Still think they will. Chelsea. The last day was a bit worrying. We were saying during the Euros like that Italy benefit from not having a totemic figure, from not having a focal point. Whereas so far as, geez, if Datle's not playing, we're all goosed. I think Chelsea suffered the last day against City from Lukaku not getting a touch. You know, it doesn't work as well. Now that could be down to Pep doing an actual good job instead of going full Pep as well, which was probably a bit of it. But that was a small bit worrying for them. But like they'll beat everyone else. They will, and they will. So I still think Chelsea, Liverpool, third. Chelsea, Liverpool, City. I said United would be joint fifth, and technically speaking, they are. Although, if you could look at it and say they're joint second as well, but that's speaking, joint fifth. And we give a shout out to what we said last year. We said if Brighton could put a run of results together, find a striker. They don't need a striker. They've got fucking Big Shane back. You know, get the big napper on it, put it in the back of the net.
Aaron Connolly,
yeah, scoring a few goals. They play good football, and I think that's they're actually scoring goals. So who's to say they won't be fifth or sixth towards the end of the year? Villa have been up and down. They bet United. They've been good. They'd one result that kind of turned them. I reckon they could be sixth, really. And Leicester are dropping off. So,
but Leicester,
like you said,
let's talk about Leicester.
Top four as is, except Chelsea. Chelsea will probably still win the league for me, yeah. Because like I said to you before we came on, you had fucking like Liverpool squad will get really, really tested in November, and Harvey Elliott was a big part of that plan. Now he's gone, so I don't know.
Yeah. Just on Leicester and is this just typical Rodgers? Like when he was at Liverpool, he'd take you so far, and then you'd drop off for 3 or 4 games, and then go again. He seems to have this stop-start. He can't kind of get a run of games going. So
and they had some good signings as well. Like they got Vestergaard there, and your man Pat. See, they're not playing Pat, and Vardy was on fire for a while as well, but they're kind of leaky at the back.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is Johnny Evans injured? Is he, or
he's starting to come back now? So
I think Fofana is a loss for them, definitely.
There you go. Fofana is a massive loss. Yeah.
But they have a lot of players. Not a lot of players. A lot of their key players over the last couple of years are now in their kind of 30s. You know.
Yeah.
That's it. Vardy and also, Schmeichel, players like that.
Supposedly Liverpool were in for Tielemans. I think he's overrated. I don't know. He's not mobile enough to be an all-action midfielder, and he has a certain passing range, but he's no Kevin De Bruyne. So I just think he's overrated.
Yeah, he's pretty good at a lot of things, but not.
Yeah. And Maddison, then Maddison's on the bench. That's where he belongs. Well, he's overrated as well.
That's a funny one because like he was in the kind of conversation with Grealish in the summer, wasn't he? Like he's going for 60-70 million.
He was only in some people's conversations, I think. Sure, Arsenal put in a bid for 50 or 40 million for him, didn't they?
Oh no, the money was way more than that. But like he hasn't kicked the ball this season, so.
And then, but they had Odegaard, and they're still going for him. Like, so how many more Odegaard type players do they want? Like, but anyway, that's Arsenal for you.
And United.
And yeah.
Okay, so relegation then. Who were your three picks?
For all the reasons we're saying Norwich are down there. That's the reasons I thought Palace to be down there. So I think Palace will probably stay up, and at this stage Norwich will probably go down. I still think there's a kick in them, like Paul said, but I think it's like even now it's just gone too far. Burnley will definitely go down as well.
Who were your three?
Burnley, Southampton, and
Watford. Did you say Watford?
No,
I didn't say Watford. Oh, Palace. Palace were definitely going down.
Palace, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Palace, yeah. Burnley, and I was iffy between Southampton and Newcastle. Yeah. But I think Southampton will go down.
Yeah. Do we think Newcastle will stay up?
Yeah, I think they've a slightly better squad than Southampton. Like Southampton,
you know what? I have Palace here on 6, Southampton on 4, Newcastle 3, Leeds 3, Burnley 2, and Norwich. I think you can put a line over the bottom 2, and it's from Leeds to Southampton. I think Palace are doing a good job. I think they're playing well. They did everything but score in the first 2 games. You know, I think they will, because I just said they have all these new players, they won't gel. And then for the same reason I said Norwich have all these new players, but they will gel. Yeah. So that was my bad. So yeah, hands up there. But like I said, I still think Norwich have a kick in them, and it depends on how bad. But Leeds are going really badly. Like they're playing Norwich style football, and they've only got 3 more points than them. So, and we're saying Norwich are going to go down. So I don't know. It would be between. I'd have Southampton, Newcastle, Leeds in for the top, and I think Burnley and Norwich are probably definitely going down at this early stage even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything that has surprised either of the two of you?
Well, I mean, Liverpool, as I said, kind of surprised me. Yeah. I think they've got off to a great start. I didn't necessarily think that would be the case. They didn't go mad in the transfer market, just signed Konate. Didn't replace Wijnaldum, so I didn't think they'd struggle, but I've been impressed with their start. Harry Kane, he's like on a hiding to nothing there. The only way he was going to walk back into that Spurs team and kind of endear himself to the fans as if he was banging goals in left, right, and centre. If you're not scoring, whatever the reason be, it's because you don't care as far as the fans are concerned. You know, you want out, you're sulking. I don't think he is sulking, but he's had a very bad start to the season. I thought Brentford would do all right. They have done all right. I thought,
and I thought Watford would do all right as well.
Thomas Frank did a bit of a number on Liverpool. You know, he identified, as we discussed, he identified a weakness, and they just bombarded that back post the whole way through the game, and they reaped rewards from it. They'll probably they might avoid the relegation shootout at the end of the season. They're not going to win anything, but you know, if he keeps. You know, if he keeps playing the style of football, well, yeah, I mean that was a huge result. I predicted 4-3, kind of tongue in cheek before it, but I wasn't actually that far wrong. And I just felt there'd be a lot of goals in it, but not quite as many as there turned out to be.
And then you put in a shout for Wolves as a dark horse to go down.
Yeah, they haven't set the world alight either. But what we said was Jimenez wouldn't come back into form. He's now hit a goal. And he'll probably take off from here. I hope he does. Yeah. He's due it like. He got a bear down knockout, as they say.
That was a big win away to Southampton. Like that was, I wouldn't say it's a relegation 6-pointer, but there are 2 teams that will be there or thereabouts.
That'll be the difference between Wolves being just above the relegation and Southampton being in it. And sure, if you look at the table, that'll tell you straight away.
Yeah, I think that was a massive result for Southampton's season, actually, because they went into the game unbeaten, but they'd only 4 draws, and I know 2 of those draws were City and United, so you think they're great results, but they're now 6 games in without a win, and even though they haven't done badly, equally they haven't won. And I think we all said it, if they get one of those 7-0 tonking somewhere, stuff could really.
Well, they prefer to go for 9, don't they? 9 is their magic number.
Go on their 17-game losing streak at the end of last season.
Yeah, I mean, they were top of the table at this time last season, weren't they? And it didn't exactly pan out for them. Yeah, I mean,
Danny Ings' goals is gone for them. That's the issue.
That's. I mean, I think. What's the guy they signed from Blackburn? Armstrong. Adam Armstrong. I think he'll score goals for them. I don't think he's in the Danny Ings goal scoring category though. They lost one of their centre halves obviously to Leicester. Yeah. Which not going to help. I just don't like. I still have. I said it before and I'll say it again. I don't understand how any manager can lose 2 games 9-0 and still have a job. You know, it's not like he went on and won the league or anything on the back of losing 9-0.
But sure, he won the league for them insofar as he stayed up. But at the same time,
yeah. But like to lose 9-0 once is bad, but to lose 9-0 twice is utterly shameful. That reeks of a poor coach, to me anyway.
Cool. Any comments on VAR, Enda? How do you think it's going?
It's not armpit here offside, so that's good. The way they're like just ignoring fucking the likes of Fernandez, pardon the French lads, throwing himself on the ground and that's good.
Why pick Fernandez now? Just as a matter of interest, if you're not an utter United hater, why pick out Fernandez of all the players?
Like, what
about the Jack Grealishes?
You look at the way United play; they have no creativity insofar as you have your back six, you have no midfield, and you have Pogba, Fernandez, Cavani, Ronaldo, all these lads up front. There's no midfield.
We've scored more goals than City
this is my
Chelsea.
opinion, and I'm entitled to this. What? Yeah, and I'll explain how you got the goals. So he'd go up to Fernandez, someone would tip him, down, and then he'd be shaping, hit the ball at the post, someone put it in, and another creative assist for Fernandez, super Fernandez. We saw how super he was, the penalty the last day. However, there's a YouTube conspiracy out there. Like if you look at there's a video saying he missed it on purpose, trying to get rid of Solskjaer.
Well, that's what I thought. I think I said that to you. Used to it. I've never ever seen him take a penalty where he leathers it as hard as he can.
Yeah.
And
that is that Ronaldo, the pressure Ronaldo? Is that the pressure now to look at it at a non-conspiracy way? Is that the pressure of Ronaldo over your shoulder? I think that is it.
Yeah, it could be, especially when he stands behind you for the penalty, breathing down your neck. But I think
gives you a little tip on the shoulder when it's done. Yeah, I'll do that now.
But the worrying thing for United though has to be, and Mika Richards wrote a good article on the whole thing yesterday. It's worth reading. But like Sancho, 75, 80 million, sat on the bench, confidence ebbing away week by week. It just
Van de Beek Mark II maybe.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, it's not a good sign, I think so.
But the Donny Van de Beek thing.
That's why buying Ronaldo was a bad idea. You have to play Ronaldo. But if you have to play Ronaldo, then you're losing out elsewhere. Why pay 80 million for Sancho if you have to play Ronaldo? Do you know?
Yeah,
I think to a degree the two of
them can play together though. Like I think you could have Sancho on the wing and Ronaldo up front. The problem is behind them with both Pogba and Fernandez and Fred and McTominay. You can't have those four. You just can't. Like so.
No. And you can't do without Fred and McTominay because you have Ronaldo, 2 of, perhaps 3 of Ronaldo, Pogba, Fernandez, because they don't do anything off the ball, like anything. And like of all the lads there, Pogba would probably the most likely to do anything off the ball, but
it wouldn't be anything positive though.
It wouldn't be anything positive, yeah.
His a tendency to give away fouls in
poor
areas.
He's a tendency to have an old poor touch and then dive in. I mean, he got away with it a couple of times. He'll end up getting sent off for that. Like
I tell you, De Bruyne got away with it last night against
Paris Saint-Germain. Oh, geez, he buckled.
That was a red card all day long.
All day long.
That was a bad one.
But VAR, if you look, VAR is different in Europe. Like it's not as obtrusive. Like you'd nearly want to take a chainsaw to someone for VAR to come in and say that's a penalty. Like,
but that was very, very similar to the one Saka got sent off for last week or the week before. It was very, very similar.
But the problem is, Wan-Bissaka should have got sent off, but so should De Bruyne.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But that's what I mean. The problem is where there's but it's inconsistency in life. You know, that's where human beings are involved, you'll never have consistency.
We probably don't want full consistency. It'd be really
we'd have nothing to discuss then, would we?
Exactly. Right, guys, we're at the top of our time. Thanks again for your inputs on reviewing the Premier League season so far. We'll be back again next week with another topic. So we'll see you all then. Have a good week, everyone.
Ta-ra.
Peace.
Bye.